My name's Daryl Martin. I'm a senior lecturer in the department. I've been in the department as a lecturer for more than 10 years. But before that, I did my doctoral study in the department, and I was actually a part-time master's before that, master's student. My areas of interest are in the sociology of architecture and urban development, with a particular interest in architecture for health and social care. We also have formal mechanisms of support that are called things like lively research culture. So that name in itself gives you an indication of what we aspire to do through that funding, which is to kind of, I suppose, discourage this idea that the research proposal that you want a little bit of funding for has to be very, very highly developed and has to be very, very sober in kind of how it's articulated. And rather, we're encouraging a sense of come to us with ideas. We understand that you might need to get a few people in the room and you might need to pay for their travel to come here, but we can do that because the research the lively research funding allows that. It allows a bit of sociability in order to help develop your ideas. Well, I can think of a funding bid I put in just last year to just get enough funding to bring about a dozen people together from different universities at different career stages for 2 days to discuss the idea of architecture, the urban, and the politics of public space. Now, that might sound like a very specific kind of area for research, but really it isn't. Those are huge, huge areas. And so the idea of having a conference in which we brought people from each of those different, so we had urbanists, we had people from architecture schools, and we had kind of people who are more interested in the politics of kind of interaction in the built environment. So the funding really, really helped when the ideas were at a very early stage, not focused yet, to bring people together for York for 2 days to have a conference that involved academics, but also non-academics as speakers. There were people that came from the city that represented community groups and different businesses, and the council as well. We also made sure that it was diverse in order giving opportunities for early career for PhD students to speak at the event as well. And that's a really nice example of an idea that wasn't very well formed at that stage, which has since subsequently led to the development of a special issue for an urban studies journal, which the papers are going through the peer review at the minute. But that special issue, assuming it comes out, it wouldn't have happened without this fund, which allowed ideas to be discussed at an early stage and the capacity for people from different institutions, from different types of job, university and not, and also for people at very early career stages to come and present and take part in the conversation. Well, what I would say about the funding, so for funding, even for kind of relatively small scale events, there's kind of an application form that needs to be filled in, and that's absolutely fine because it's important that it's transparent to other people within the department where we're kind of using that money for investment kind of purposes. So there is bureaucracy attached to it, but maybe the difference between our department and other departments, maybe larger departments, is that you've got people in place as research facilitators, but also directors of research, whose door is open if you kind of want to talk to them about the form or the process and kind of just to get clarity on what's needed to kind of like make your application, whether that's in terms of timelines or the actual application process itself. So it's not that we don't do bureaucracy. There is a bureaucratic process in place, an administrative process in place, but that's only right. But what we have here is the support to help people through that process.